Hello again, everyone. Melth here, with more of my Baldur's Gate 3 challenge run. Details of which, as usual, are in the YouTube video description. Now, I've been thinking and strategizing and doing some experiments to try to figure out what is the fightingest path I can take through Act 3, and in particular through the beginning of Act 3. A lot of the quests that you can do or are locked out of in Act 3 can depend upon decisions that you made like 20 hours before, and it's not really clear all the time what will lock you out of later on doing quests. I found also some battles that are missable but not listed as being time sensitive on the wiki, and other things that I need to go into as we talk about how I'm going to begin Act 3 and try to balance out the needs of my challenge run to do things in the hardest possible way. Watch out for spoilers throughout this run. Alright, so we left off here having just met the Emperor and got the Astral Tadpole. Beautiful view over here I want to just compliment, and also my familiars just staring into space for peculiar reasons. But anyway, I like how much effort they put into just designing this view we'll only see one time if we look over this one cliff here at the beginning of Act 3. Some parts of Act 3 are kind of unpolished, but some parts of it are really well done, and this is one of those parts. Now, I mentioned last time that out of character, I want to try out the Astral Tadpole powers, which I've never had a chance to actually play with before, but in character we will assume that Ballista just failed his check to resist the Emperor trying to force him to use it, and therefore blames the Emperor for this. Messed up face for the rest of the run. Now, the weird thing that I might have mentioned last time is that these gross veins you have now overwrite your face even in disguised self form, which makes absolutely no sense if you think about what disguised self is doing. But I guess it's just meant to be your punishment for accepting these powers as a player. In any case, for anyone who's new to this run, by the way, I am stuck in like permanent disguised self face. This is not the face I made for my character. This is one of the generic elven males, but I can't get back to my own face, ever. I can only just change my disguises for some reason. But let's talk about the Astral Tadpole. You might have seen that I had 2 illithid powers before, and now I have 5. So the way it works is, when you use the Astral Tadpole, you immediately unlock all of these, I guess, Tier 1 Mind Flayer powers. If you'd already bought them yourself with tadpoles before, you get refunded those tadpoles, which is good design. Glad they thought of that. We now also unlock all these outer ring powers. Now, there are a lot of fun options here. This one here is not really, like, good, but you can do some weird kills with enemies with it, because enemies can be killed if their intelligence or other stats drop to 0, and so you can kill enemies that are meant to be invincible using this sometimes, which can break your game, but is pretty funny at the very least. Over here, this power was, unfortunately, crippled for honor difficulty. See, the way it used to work was that it creates kind of a bubble where any character standing in that bubble can interchangeably use actions and bonus actions. So you can spend a bonus action to do an action, like maybe a multi-attack for a fighter or something like that. Which was not just very powerful, but also very unique, and a lot of creative moves and so forth. So I appreciated that about it. Now, yes, it was extremely powerful. Maybe it needed a nerf, but I wish instead of making it be a giant AoE haste, which is still really, really powerful, they instead made it be perhaps you give one ally the ability to use bonus actions and actions interchangeably for a few rounds or something like that. Just something to keep that creative combo unlocking potential. This is still really strong, but it's not creatively fun anymore. Oh well. This perk here is, it's a free high-level spell slot, so that's certainly valuable. Down here, we can get Mind Blast, which is a decent AoE damage and stun, especially if you have the Resonance Stone that makes enemies weak to psychic damage. It gets to be, a decent chunk of AoE damage of a rarely resistant damage type. I think the real prize is Fly, which we get for free. Just letting you effectively double your movement speed and get into unusual places is really good in the game where positioning matters quite a lot. I think I want to get this. I already have expertise in these skills currently, but I can re-spec with Withers to now have expertise in a lot more skills overall, so that's probably worth the investment. I think I definitely want this. This is an extremely powerful ability. I wanted it on every character if I could get it, really. It's basically just like Counterspell, but a bit better, up to level 4, essentially. So that is very, very potent. In character, I can't really justify having the other characters use the Astral Touch Tadpole. I don't think that we would do that on purpose, so I'll probably only have this on my main guy, Ballista, but it's really good. Charm is garbage, but you're required to unlock it, I guess. Then I might pick up Black Hole here. It's once per short rest, and I can use it as a bonus action because way back in Act 1 I used the Zaithisk, and you pass all the checks there, so a bonus action gravity effect that pulls all enemies in together is pretty useful. I mean, Void Bulbs do that too, but this is some other advantages to the conflicting slow, so I want to play around with it and see if I can find any fun uses. Also note, of course, that the more powers I've unlocked, the more potent my Cold Weak effect becomes. I can now kill enemies off when they're below about like 15 or so hit points, which is a decent chunk, really. I do have to watch out, of course, as I mentioned before, that if you have a Bloodlust elixir going on, and you get a kill with Cold the Weak, it doesn't usually count for Bloodlust. Sometimes it does, but not always, which can sometimes spoil your move, so watch out for that. Let us get to bed.
My God.
It looks like Le Boingzel has something to say to us, probably about the crazy things that happened in the Astral Prism last night, so let's have a chat here.
With Lazel's. Her heart races as she learns of the events inside the Astral Prism.
Orpheus.
Yeah, we knew this a long time ago. I know she hasn't been in the active party in a while, but even back when she was, or even in camp scenes where she was here, we had confirmation repeatedly that he was alive, it seems like. So, weirdly behind the times.
Of the comet. The Emperor, yes. A stunning revelation.
We really get no remarks about that. Not even an I told you so, because she was the only one who was super suspicious of the Dream Visitor at the beginning of the game, when she had no evidence for it. Right by blind luck, basically.
Orpheus, you must know.
Now, actually, the Emperor did pretty much tell the truth about Orpheus. It's the one thing he didn't lie about, as far as I recollect. She herself is leaving out important details here. Like how the, Gith and Orpheus were evil.
The Archdevil Tiamat.
Speaking of evil beings in Tiamat, that's a peculiar thing, because Tiamat is not originally from this setting. I mean, originally she's from, I think, Sumerian mythology, but in D&D terms, she was originally in the Greyhawk D&D setting, not the Forgotten Realms. And was only brought into this one via a canon event, I think, later on in the setting's history. So it's pretty weird, as I recollect how things went, that she would have been in charge of the dragons back in those ancient times when the Githyanki had their rebellion. I'm not sure that makes sense timeline-wise. She was a complete failure as a goddess and therefore ended up losing having her own divine realm and just had to get a timeshare in the Hells, where she also sucked at her job and got demoted from gate guard to just, living in a house somewhere and being ignored by everyone because she's not important and not good at anything.
Yes.
We've gone over this before. It is, I think, the dumbest bit of lore in the entire Forgotten Realms. We're supposed to believe there have been 157 Vlockiths who all had the exact same policies. They're all, no changes over the ages. None of them did anything different about Orpheus. None of them did anything different about anything whatsoever.
Against Vlaakith 1.
And there have been 157 of them despite them being double immortal. Because they live in the astral plane where they don't age. And multiple of them, maybe all of them, have been liches, which are also immortal and indestructible. Nearly indestructible, that is. So it is bizarre and completely implausible there be more than a handful of them in history, let alone 157 of them.
Orpheus is not just.
Now, another important point to make here is that he's one of the original Githyanki, which means ipso facto he's pure evil.
Voss spoke, he spoke true. Orpheus is the living.
All Githyanki from that time period, that first generation, are defined as Githyanki by the choice to say, we want to conquer and enslave the entire galaxy. All the ones that were not pure evil and didn't want to do that became the Githzerai. That was the split. It's the pure evil people who want to take over the entire galaxy versus anyone who's decent became the Githzerai. Now, a modern Githyanki is not necessarily pure evil. I mean, most of them are, but they didn't make that choice back then. But Orpheus did. So he's an evil space tyrant just as bad as Vlockith, as far as Baldur is concerned. No reason whatsoever to think otherwise. Alright. Well, let's get on with things. For anyone who is new to this run, the way I try to do things is to get all the story but also have no benefit from resting is, at the beginning of each act, when I've just gotten the end of act full restore, but I've not done any battles or anything like that, I try to just rest and camp repeatedly and get all the story scenes done, and then do the entire act in one sweep after that. But I can't do that immediately here because of some peculiarities of how Act 3 works. There'll be some fights that I would miss if I did that, and some quests I couldn't do if I did that. So, what I must do, I think, is advance down into the town here, make my way over to Gortash's Coronation, a couple towns over in that fortress. Neat that we can see it here. Anyway, I need to advance there because You can only do the full Iron Throne questline and things like that if you've had a talk with Mizora in your camp over a long rest that can only happen after Gortash's coronation. So I must do that before we're doing my series of rests. I'll try to get through without doing any fights whatsoever. Yenna here is a humanoid-shaped piece of railroad tracks. We are forced to have her in our camp for no logical reason in character, just to provide a hostage situation so Orden can kidnap someone if you have no party members. It doesn't really make that much sense. Like, as a failsafe, it's a fine idea, but we in character should never accept this for various reasons. Because we already had a situation with Alfira not that long ago where some innocent person came into our camp, insisted on staying, and then got brutally murdered. And that would clearly be a risk for Yenna, but we do nothing about that. We also know they have an infiltrator in the camp who's like a psycho murder lady, we'll find out soon. So we shouldn't keep Yenna there for that reason. And we get attacked in the middle of the night all the time too. So we should not accept this kid being in that danger zone, but we just are forced to do so. Oh, Minthara, do you have something to say?
I do not understand why the matrons, patriarchs.
But let's also just kind of getting to know Minthara and see if it's possible to steer her away from her previous psychopathic ways.
I was not suggesting they be allowed to roam free.
So she wants to clarify that she's not in fact talking about doing charitable deeds. He agrees kind of so far as long as she means as free laborers. I mean, it makes sense of taking people who can then help defend the city and things like that during this crisis. But he's going to ask for clarity and see what she means about that.
They be fed and sheltered, and that they work in return. Call it whatever you wish.
There's an important distinction there, but she's not actively saying they should be enslaved, so he's tolerating that. Alright. Well, let's ignore everything here and come back for this later on, because I want to just rush to Gortash's coronation. I want to also circumvent the large gate guardian here, who can have a fun fight with him later on with all the soldiers around. If I interacted with the Steel Watch group over here, then the group would split up and not be a tough fight later on. Let's talk to Disguised Orin over here. I'm pretty sure this one will be Orin anyway. Orin can disguise herself as various people, and I don't know quite how it's determined, but I think the first one you talk to is always Orin.
Oh, the hero of the hour walking right up to me. The name's Lens, reporter with the Baldur's Mouth Gazette.
Some of the victims you can find alive elsewhere, for some reason not murdered by Orin. I don't know whether you can find the real version of the reporter somewhere.
You, of course. News travels fast in this city, and after your exploits, you're quite the celebrity.
He doesn't like that. He wants to keep a low profile for now, somewhat. Until he's found out what the cult is up to exactly.
2 moments of your time. If you play your cards right, this could make the cover. I just need some extra details. So, you've arrived at Baldur's Gate. What's brought you here at a time like this?
That's a strange question. He's going to just kind of pretend to be one of the refugees, basically.
You came seeking safety.
That's what everyone's doing here. Don't act like it's strange.
The threat must be dire indeed. Though, from what I hear, you've little to fear from the Absolute. My sources tell me you recently vanquished the fearsome General Ketheric Thorn.
There is no way he'd reveal to the public how he did that. He wants to keep his power secret so that the cult doesn't know what's coming for them. I guess we can keep things vague here.
Defying the gods themselves. I had no...
Wants to help give people hope against the Absolute, too, and point out that their gods are weak quasi-deities.
You must feel confident for the battles ahead. The cult's threat is far from extinct.
This is, I think, about the cleverest Orin will ever be. She almost always just starts babbling about murder 2 seconds into conversation with her, and then you have to pretend that you don't recognize that it's Orin for like 30 more seconds. There's no way to reveal this, of course.
Citizens to help your cause. You must have some strategy in mind.
So
Don't worry. I already have everything I need.
he's been pretty clearly suspicious of this person for a while, but I guess you have to pretend to be surprised now. So here comes Orin, one of our biggest enemies. If we just killed her right now, it would resolve half the plot. We have tons of ways to force her to stay in place and just slaughter her, but we're supposed to pretend that we'd have no options to deal with her here. Again and again and again. It's a really dumb, railroady, and silly way for things to work.
With the bone you'll salt.
No options, just attack down here, switch other characters and try to attack her. just doesn't work.
Purpose is clear as welts on an infant's skin.
You always choose the most tasteful similes, Orin.
I could.
Stupid words just kind of ooze out of her mouth like pus from a wound, and we're just forced to listen to it.
Father will see us together again. He will see you bleed.
Yeah, whatever. Alright, we'll have to put up with that several more times and pretend that we don't see it coming and pretend that we have no option to deal with this person just chatting us up for 30 seconds. Alright. Well, what I'm going to do now is something that's pretty cool, which is that a lot of Act 3 is very three-dimensional. There are many paths that you can use Fly to exploit and circumvent obstacles and things like that. It's pretty great design. In my opinion, Act 2 is often too flat. There were some cool 3D environments and things like the giant House of Healing church where Malice operated, but most of that was not really used space, whereas here, the city feels 3D and a lot of different floors are used, and it's a good return to some things from Act 1, I would say. Maybe even better in some design aspects than parts of Act 1 were. In any case, flying by, we bypass the guards at the gates. We can save them, as I said, for a battle later on. We now have a waypoint over here to teleport everyone else in at. I could give them Fly too with the Astral Tadpole, but I'm trying to avoid that because it doesn't make any sense in character, as much as it would be out of character an extreme power-up that I should probably use.
I can do better.
Alright. Now there is one thing that I must do while I'm here. It's not listed on the wiki as being time sensitive, but it actually is. I must go to Danthalon's Dancing Axe, which I think is over here, and battle some doppelgangers there now. If I don't, I'll get told that they were, people that were killed by doppelgangers later on and won't have a chance to battle the doppelgangers. So it must be done now, because I can't do it after my rests. But a few doppelgangers are weak. They shouldn't really require us to spend any resources that would be restored on the rest anyway, so I should be able to fight them without taking any damage, I think, and thereby it'll be fine. Alright, let's chat up the proprietor. We're told to talk to him by Jahira.
Your noble bearing brings a little class to my humble establishment. How may I be of service?
We have to really just blunder in and talk very bluntly and openly about this secret for some reason.
I'm afraid I serve a grubbier class of clientele than that. More chancers than champions, if you take my meaning. Present company excluded, I'm sure.
I do like his voice acting here. Silly though it is that we're forced to just be so open about this.
Was it?
A little silly to claim not to know who Jahira is. She's world famous.
Clothgrass. I know the taste all too well. You too, I'd wager. Fine, yes.
Want to wager one of your really good items will buy from you? Because you'd lose that bet. We smelled that stuff out and didn't drink it.
Herself.
Liquor? I hardly know her.
She wouldn't have revealed this place otherwise, which makes you...
Despite her suspicion and so forth, the Harpers have been badly infiltrated and half of them are replaced with doppelgangers, seemingly.
The others are below, and bearing bad news by the looks of it. Thank you.
All right. Well,
The door till our friends are done.
let's open that up.
Did we do any business today?
Now, as far as I'm aware, even though you can spot these guys are clearly doppelgangers, even though you can see that out of character, even though you can win instant attacks against them to realize something is up, you still get surprised by them, which is very silly. But, and this is an important detail, as I mentioned in the past, I came up with a strategy that makes it so you can circumvent surprises like that. See, if anyone in your party in the combat is surprised at the beginning of the fight, anyone who joins it later on also is surprised, regardless of logic. Even if they sneaked up and sneak attacked some guy, you get surprised after your own sneak attack or whatever. But if everyone in the fight at the beginning was unsurprisable, then anyone who joins later on is not surprised. These party members all have alert, so they are unsurprisable. So I'm going to fly over there and be in conversation from high ground, I think. Hello? Why are they not moving? There we go.
I'm not Jahira. I was hoping to greet the High Harper.
So I think he's being held hostage or something like that and forced to cooperate or something.
Nervous.
He's trying to signal to us in code there. But even if we pass the instant check, it makes no difference. We still get ambushed.
Geraldus isn't nervous. He's terrified. And he's using Saloon's tears as some kind of code.
Let's have a look around here.
Keep it together.
So if we look at them, we can see what they are. Doppelgangers, they've got the mind reader feature, they've got all that stuff, but we have to pretend to be surprised about that.
To meet my mother and father.
Geraldus, you spoiled Orin's surprise. We'll deliver you alive for that. But not you.
Do they really think they can win this? Alright, so now we've avoided surprise because, you know, we are all alert. So now we should be able to bring Astarion in, and the Ravens in for that matter. So go up and blind you. You can have a railroaded silly ambush instead. How about that? Neat couple of tricks there for dealing with this kind of situation. Alright. With that, we can now walk up and mow these guys down pretty easily. Not that it would have been hard without that, but just optimizing so I won't need to use any rest resources, basically. If I fire this should probably bounce to most of these targets. Let's go for that. Sure. It only hit 2. I do not understand how multi-target arrows work. They're totally inconsistent for me. They never bounce the way I'd expect them to. We got 3 that time. That's not awful. Well, we should be able to take out one of them. Let's turn on Cold Weak. I want to just finish this off fast. That might, if I get a high roll, just kill that person outright. No, not quite good enough. That's fine. Let's shoot you. Waste none of our damage if we can. You might be killable with like a small AoE blast. We are firing from down below, but still not too bad.
This is gonna feel good.
My Ravens would be in the blast radius if I did certain things here. Yeah, I think if you just fire an offhand attack, that should finish that person off immediately with Coal of the Week. Let's go for that. It did not, even though that's on. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's fine, though, I guess. Can I push you off of this cliff? Not from there. This is highly inefficient. Yeah, I shouldn't do it that way. Okay, one down. Didn't Cold the Weak anyone, so that's not ideal.
Shall we dance?
I might need to use a haste or something like that. I do have that option anytime I want it. But you can probably just finish one off with a weak offhand shot. Maybe. There we go. And if you fire off your fire bolt, maybe get up onto the high ground for that. There we go.
Fresh orders?
Alright, can you just pop that one with a reaction? Oh, that one's easier. There we go. Alright, so basically no resources spent, dealt with pretty easily.
It's doppelgangers.
With a speed potion, it would have been trivial.
Side, I wonder.
We will meet a lot of doppelgangers in Act 3. In my opinion, they overused a good idea to the point where we come to suspect that everyone is a doppelganger, and I'm basically right about that. It would have been better to use them more sparingly and have it be a surprise instead of us, just expecting that everyone we meet is one.
Well, hello. Have a lot on my mind. And, well, in it.
What do you have to say for yourself, Geraldus?
Thank you.
It's a start.
Because I'm not, I swear.
That would have been actually clever from the doppelgangers.
You're the one High Harper Jaheira sent. Right. Equal to the High Harper. You can give her my report, then. The others. They're all dead. Or scattered. Jaheira sent word of
the Harpers really come across as pretty incompetent in this game overall.
The cultists in the city, but they were the ones hunting us.
I mean, to be outwitted by this giggling, drooling clown moron and her gang of what are basically magic drug addicts in the sewers is not a good look for the Harpers. No, tell us now. We're talking about Minsk here. I think Karlach should recognize this because Karlach hero worships Jahira and probably would know about Minsk too.
I can't continue the hunt.
We'll find him easily enough.
They do not want him found.
Alright, let's loot this place. I think it's what Jahira wanted us to do. They already have a fake Jahira. I don't know why they need another one. I'm a little confused by that.
What's inside?
Those were great back in Act 1, and they're still decent now, at least. Let's loot some more stuff, then get on with our adventure. Okay, was there another chest that I forgot? I think there might be one over here or something. Yeah, I see one down there. So loot that, then get out of here. Next up, there's an encounter with vampires that people are mistaken about how to do. Oh, that's pretty good. I mean, this is so Act 1, but Dominate Person's pretty good. Anyway. So an encounter that is easily missable, and there are false notions about how to do it, even on guides relating to all the Astarian scenes. I've seen, incorrect information reported. Basically, to get the encounter with vampires, you must rest in the lower city. There is a common notion that relates to talking to the two vampires in the Fago's flophouse. Nothing to do with that, whatsoever.
Of course they bloody did. Clear out then. I'm guessing I have some tidying to do before the steel watch squeals by. I've had enough dealings with harpists to know I don't want the answers. Go on now.
We'll come back and buy some things from him later on, but I won't do all my shopping in one big video where we're talking about my builds for Act 3 and things like that. Once again, if you have fly, you can circumvent a lot of obstacles here. Let us fly over here and get into the fortress that they're trying to guard. Then we'll come back and fight them later on. It's a pretty fun encounter. 3 steel watchers at once are fairly formidable. But we'll save all that for when I've done all of my story rests, and therefore I'm getting no mechanical benefit. Alright. There's a waypoint in here. Maybe I should walk into this room and unlock that. Oh, conversation beginning here. Or no, this is the completely out of place Dark Urge vision you get if you hadn't rested up until this point. Normally this is a camp scene, I believe.
Naughty, naughty, naughty little master.
Vision of the Ball Temple here, I guess.
You have disobeyed your father's wishes one time too many.
This is where we'll be fighting Orin later on, of course. Because we aren't allowed to just fight her when she's out in the open and vulnerable to us.
With monsters should look to
I don't really like this. This is, of course, kind of a parody of a quote from Nietzsche, but Nietzsche didn't exist in this setting. And the context here of being a Dark Urge person has nothing to do with what Nietzsche was talking about either. It's just... it feels weirdly out of place for this setting.
embrace what you have rejected. And that other will be your death.
Yeah, we'll see. He's not too threatened by Orin.
Father loves you dearly.
And no one should feel too threatened by the Slayer. It is massively overhyped and useless.
Your line. Become the last.
Kind of like werewolves in Skyrim, come to think of it. Like, they were hyped up as being this amazing warrior transformation, but if anything, they're the worst for warriors, because, you lose all your good weapons and armor skills and things like that and end up with nothing. Whereas at least for mages, they're good for just, carting a heavy gear around once in a while.
1,000 victims, years spent in worship of Baal, leading his savage congregation in...
Ballista is, of course, horrified by this. He already kind of knew that he was probably a Baal spawn, but, besides that it's disturbing to be a son of the god of murder and have done all these killings and whatnot, it's also just...
a devoted...
it's lame. Why couldn't he be the son of one of the evil gods that has something going on? Tons of evil gods are gods of murder and something else. Baal is just about mindless killing for no reason, and that's just trite and dull. And he's just gross and stupid too. It's like being the son of a goblin or something.
And yet, you will never be free of your urge if you don't...
It's just disappointing.
...to your past. You are not the last of your name.
disappointing in different ways, but in and out of character. I mentioned before, I do not like that they recycled so many plot points from the first few Baldur's Gate games and had Baldur be the villain again. He has no credibility as a villain. He's a complete chump who fails every single time. And they already, used him twice. There are so many possible evil forces you could use in the Forgotten Realms setting. If you have to have Ball for just, his tradition in the series, then, maybe have him be the Act 2 villain or something like that, and then have us fight the rest of the Dead 3 now in Act 3, or fight, I don't know, Shar or something like that. Something new.
It takes its place. Confident, dominant, commanding.
This is a little bit peculiar too. See, you've had several normally encounters with Steel Watch by this point where they've been hostile to you, basically, or you had to talk your way past them or things like that. Now, game design-wise, that's good. It makes sense. They're trying to set them up as a threat so that then when you're invited in, it is a relief to you and makes things a lot easier and so forth. But narratively, it makes no sense, because back when we were out in Rivendell, Gortash still wanted us to come here, His motives haven't changed.
Just to see it.
So, it's narratively weird. As is everything about the Coronation scene. It's like a cool idea for a scene, but it's another moment of just completely illogical behavior where we can't engage with the world in ways that make sense. We have, at this point, in our pockets, just a mountain of evidence incriminating Gortash. We have detailed letters and books in his own hand, signed with his own name, or dictated to his own scribes by name, detailing exactly what he's doing. We have signed confessions from him. We have third-party sources on him, too. We have numerous witnesses against him. But we can't present any of that. We can't do anything with any of that.
Stand down.
Now, some of these patriarchs here are either, on his side or have been bribed or threatened or whatever, but not all of them. A lot of them are just dupes. We should be able to break things up here.
Patriarchs of this proud city.
I guess he doesn't have good control for the Steel Watch because they should be letting us in now. Ballas would take this as probably being an ambush or something like that, like we were lured in to be attacked. That's not what's going on, but that's the only thing that makes sense.
Counter, citizen.
Dearest patriarchs, but a moment.
Another thing we can do to solve this problem, the Emperor can send his mind control protection from Orpheus to people nearby us. Why not give that to Older right now and solve this whole problem that way? So many things we could do, but we're just not allowed to do anything but just watch this cutscene, basically. Or we could fight him, of course, which is an epic, giant, very fun battle. Highly recommend that, and we'll definitely do that as a side video. But it has to be a side video, because if I do that, I will miss out on like 3 major quests and all the fights in them. So, gotta cooperate for now and make a different video where I show how to fight him with all his Steel Watch and all the bodyguards and things like that here, which is a ton of fun.
The quakes are a clear warning. If nobody steps in soon, it'll free itself from the authority of the crown. I expect it'll start with turning the Sword Coasts infected. You among them.
Gortash is being fairly reasonable here, and Ballas is willing to listen and see what kind of bargain he proposes.
The Mind Flayer Empire reborn. If we're lucky, we'll become slaves. If we're unlucky, well, not the most thrilling of prospects, but it's a fate that can be avoided. If you and I...
Gortash is the only person on this team that has brains, and Ballas kind of respects that. Now, unfortunately, he should be talking to me as if I was the Dark Urge, talking about how he liked working with me, doesn't like Orin, and lots of other things about our background and shared history, which is cool stuff, but I'm missing out on it due to this dumb bug where I'm stuck in disguised self form. People don't recognize me as the Dark Urge. It's quite a shame, really. He needs to ask this practical question first. Now, notice again, he's talking somewhat loudly here in front of all these witnesses, but no one notices. It's very, very silly.
Executing its current orders, it will be free to do as it wishes. That will be bad for everyone. The Crown's magic turned the brain into something the world has never seen. A nether brain. Its power is immense. Once it is freed from its shackles, I doubt we'll ever be able to bring it under control again.
Are those devil faces on his clothes? He's really wearing his allegiance on his sleeves here.
There's an old wisdom. A brittle alliance can never be mended. It can only break.
I guess if I was recognized as the Dark Urge, we'd be mending our alliance, really, but oh well.
Nether stones for herself.
This is incoherent from Orin, of course, because Ball is dumb and so is Orin, and their plans make no sense. This is true. He's not afraid of her. She's a clown.
They are very efficient killers.
They're the opposite of efficient. They're theatrical and silly.
Orin changes shape faster than you and I change clothes.
Yeah, but she doesn't change what she talks about.
Tricked you before. She's targeted me.
This is also contradicted because she'll say that she can't actually target him and that you must do it for her. But we see for herself that she can indeed target him, so that's just, again, we're forced to do things for, you know, game purposes that don't make sense story-wise.
I want to lead this city to glory, not scorch its earth. I'd like to propose a pact. A divine
Now,
oath sworn upon
in character, we should take the kind of divine oath very seriously. Out of character, no consequences whatsoever for breaking it. It's very weird that way.
while our pact stands.
But there's no way that Baldur would swear an oath to uphold this guy's plans, because in character oaths are a big deal in this setting.
So the three are united once again. Together we rule Faerun as kings. No, more than kings. Gods. We rule as the absolute.
The urge, the deplorably brutal urge, sickens within you. When you level the world.
Shut up, Ball. I'm talking to someone who has a brain here.
Yours alone. But first you will rule. Then you will ruin.
What do you say? Shall we be allies?
I can detect no deceit. This alliance could serve.
And he'll just say, yeah, we can totally break this oath with no consequences. And he's right, but it shouldn't be that way. So, this option works just as well, too. He's going to say no promises because in character he would not swear an oath by the gods about this stuff.
Perhaps a demonstration of why you need my help will motivate you to make the right decision. Your camp is compromised.
Yeah, that really is concerning, isn't it? But we're not allowed to take any action whatsoever to investigate that or defend ourselves.
I suggest a thorough investigation.
I'd love to. I'd love to investigate this at all.
The faceless in your camp is like a knife at your throat. Remove it quickly, or any alliance between us would be exceedingly short-lived.
Act 3 has some great moments, but it also has a lot of complete nonsense story-wise.
Orin is elusive, shall we say. The grip of
Do they also get stuck, just listen to her chatter for a while and then vanish?
still slips through its fingers. Some conflicts are best resolved quietly. The people are cattle, obedient until panicked. You carry the stone plucked from Merkel's chosen. Besides, I'm not ready to call you enemy. At least not yet. First, Orin the Red.
So here he speaks rather loudly about this. Now their plan has a lot of things that don't make much sense, because you'll notice Ball is worthless to this plan. So they already have another way to cause panic, which is the whole army of the absolute thing coming. That's the biggest threat. That's the biggest reason for them to elect this guy as dictator or whatever.
In such circumstances,
Yeah, the Ball stuff is pretty superfluous.
strong leaders.
Likewise, there's another superfluous step too, which is, he's going to be elected dictator now, basically. Okay, mission accomplished.
Fane's unyielding hand.
He has an unthinking robot army to back him up, so he doesn't need the continued consent of the masses after that.
Granting me complete power over them.
Yep, this makes sense so far.
Of the absolute.
But then, they're going to begin infecting the masses. That's completely redundant. And poses the danger to them that they discovered, because they found out that this brain can't be trusted, basically. You should do that to the people that are renegades or, hard to control, but not to the masses. That makes no sense.
Our tyranny. And we are safe.
I guess it just included to make Ball feel like he's an important member of the team when he's not. Which, back when the Dark Urge was on the team, the Dark Urge is useful, makes some sense to give Ball something to do. But now that the Dark Urge is off the team and Orin is worthless, Ball is completely unnecessary to every step of the plan.
More importantly, just. Now, come. Be witness as I make history as the first Archduke of...
If there's one thing we know about Archdukes, Mr., they can get assassinated.
You will follow me, and you will show due respect. Distinguished dukes, patriarchs, dearest Ravengard.
If only we could just extend, Orpheus' protection to Ravengard right now.
Chapter begin.
And have him behead Gortash here instead of tapping him on the shoulder with that.
Enver Gortash.
No consequences for him breaking his oath here either. But I guess it is only sworn by a sword rather than by the gods, so fair enough.
Within and without.
I swear.
The sword you get from Ravengard, by the way, is really cool and boosts your charisma, among other interesting things. I definitely want to get that if I can. Which is not easy, because you don't really get it if you fight him here, basically, or if you do some complicated maneuvers.
So that none may suffer.
I swear.
Gathered guests. Grant ye consent?
It's a pretty cool scene. It just shouldn't be the only option here, really.
Enver Gortash. The council appoints you Archduke of Baldur's Gate.
My friends, the steel watch stands ready. Let its blade fall on any who would diminish our city. And you, honored guest, will find me in my office above when you return. Do not come empty-handed.
I can't just swing by for a chat during office hours? I thought we were friends, Gortash. Alright, well, inexplicably this guy will immediately, once we leave this door, not be here anymore, but be in Clockwork Bioshock land underwater. Let's go out and chat to Mizora about that. No one notices this devil standing over here either, apparently.
If it isn't little Will's chums. I hope he hasn't been too much trouble.
We mostly forget about him in camp.
He's had a tough go, and you don't know the half of it.
So she's here to report that inexplicably Ravengard is now in the underwater prison.
Will's father relocated. I'm just an impartial observer. This is Gortash's game. A murderous one, the way I hear it. Ravengard's good as dead. And
I mean, he's already basically worse than dead, so who cares?
way to save him. Or is there?
Now, there's no way Baldur would reveal that he cares. He has reasons not to care, but you don't want to give a devil the knowledge that it has leverage against you when you're, talking about deals, so he'll say this.
Care. But Will does. Let's meet in your camp.
And you won't do that until you do a rest, which is why I'm forced to do that after this point. Otherwise, they miss out forever on the chance to get the end of Will's questline, because he would inexplicably just be dead in the Iron Throne rather than rescuable there. Or even rescuable against her opposition there. Alright. Let us head on out of here and get to the lower city area. Now, this counts despite just being down the street as an all-new region, which means that you get massively healed up, you get all your spell slots or whatever back, you get concentration breaks in your main characters, so I'll try to avoid getting anything restored by that whenever I need to travel between them. Just bear that in mind if you're doing a similar run.
Without altering,
Haven't we been over this already?
it will soon start.
Alright, need to get over here to the lower city so I can rest and have that vampire attack that I've mentioned.
What to do?
Actually, it just occurred to me there's one other thing that I could do, which is to go to the nearby printing press and do the quest there, which I've never actually benefited from before because I always do a no-rest run on my only 2 so far runs of Act 3. I'd like to see what the outcome of that is, actually. So I might just fly over there and take care of that right now without any fights and come back and do it, via fighting after the long rests later on. So, let us fly in there and find out what they're up to.
What do I think of Lord Gortash's still watch? Well, I am so glad you asked, Edvard. No.
Alright, let's head on down and talk to Edvard there. Now, he is, basically just being bribed into serving Gortash and spreading Gortash's propaganda.
Well, if it isn't
Tale as old as time, unfortunately.
you starting
But even though Gortash is now working with us in some versions of the story, he's still accidentally propagandizing against us because this guy hasn't been brought up to speed, I suppose.
We have plenty of ink. Enough to cover all your
We'll see about that. I'm going to have so many misadventures in this city here.
Since your arrival, reports of absolutist activity in this city have increased tenfold. Hardly seems a coincidence. The truth will be out with tomorrow's broadsheet. People will spit in your face
The effects are pretty minimal as far as I'm aware either way, just slight attitude improvements with random people, I think. But I want to see if they change the dialogue or things like that.
Then, we can only hope the Fist do their duty and escort you to the gallows. Your days of scumming up this good city streets will be over. Pray tell, how exactly will you disseminate that information? What's the name of your highly popular broadsheet? No? Exactly. The headlines are loaded into the print works already.
He's trying to get the information out of this guy so we can figure out how to sabotage this.
Power of free speech. Vox Populi, Vox Dei. Now, guards! I believe our distinguished guest was just...
So we'll come back and battle everyone in here after all the story rests are out of the way so that nothing gets recovered. Alright. Now, there's a way in which is pretty easy, I think, which is we can just use our flying power. Again, great, there's cool 3D environments to explore over here. Now, let me see up there, camera. Silly. Get up here, blow open the path down into the elevator. Done. Where's the landable place? There it is. And then there's a lever. No one will notice or care about what we're doing in here conveniently. Camera a little tricky. There we go. Go into stealth mode, pull the lever, and then it's trivial to just walk past the two steel watches while invisible. Let us drink an invisibility potion. Go into stealth mode here, and they won't hear the loud swooshing of us going by conveniently. And I'm pretty sure it's through this door. It's a fun little stealth mission. I appreciate that. At least it's doable that way. Let us exit turn-based mode. Oh. Exit to turn-based mode. Exit stealth and talk to the printer, which is sentient, which is also an interesting twist.
Noting its ink splots and intricate cogs. Before you can get closer, however, it begins to speak.
Oi! Gormless! Over here! Thought I recognized you. Dolly was right. You aren't much of a looker.
Maybe a little bit less than I used to be.
We both love cheeky words. She does all the shouting, I do the writing.
I find this a little bit odd because this printer was created by the Gondians, who don't usually seem to work with Fae stuff, but you know, gnomes are often on friendly terms with Fae, so it makes some sense, I guess, too.
Artistry. I'm a master pensman, I am.
Apparently sabotages the writing to add in typos and things like that for fun. Typical Fae stuff.
Hero that, hero here, hero there. Hello, hero. You know, there's some absolute filth about you in tomorrow's edition. Seeing as you were kind
of... A surprisingly reasonable Fae, all things considered. Dolly wasn't this helpful.
Why don't we change the headline? We can load up something a bit less damaging for your reputation. Well, first, I've got to release the old nasty top story. Oop, there. Now, you've got to find a new article to replace it.
Fun idea here. You can find various articles around the premises, but there's one conveniently in this room. So I'll get to that. Alright. Anything interesting to read while we're in here? I think there is. This part is weird to me. I don't know what this Gondian exposition into the Shadowcrush lands has to do with anything there, really. So typo is probably added by the printer itself. That's another thing against us, I believe. There's several stories that are against us that they've drafted. Alright, I think this wicker basket has the story that we want. Is that right? Yes.
The block has a board sheet article engraved upon it.
So let's plonk that in.
Oh, you've returned. Ready to sow some discord? How delightful.
I like the voice here, too. There we go.
The editor will be in for a surprise tomorrow.
Well, we'll also come back in and just kill the editor tomorrow too, I think. Alright, there's another report of his rebelling against the subordination of this paper to Gortash's propagandizing. Note to self, who's that from? Alright, where are the Steel Watchers out there? Can I open this without being in view? Yep, okay, that was a close one. That's fine though. I'm going to use an invisibility potion. They don't question why exactly it was that door just magically opened. I guess when you have fairies on the premises, anything can happen. Excuse me. Alright. Lever, and we're out of here. I think I will probably need to break off this video here and do all the camp scenes next time, since that's probably going to be long enough to be its own video there. Thank you for watching, everyone, and a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. The Irreverent Reverend, Master Knight DH, Jackie, and Lino, Travis, Andrew Curzon, Trubsy, Oliver, Gregory, William Wakefield, Broken Box, Jeffrey Morse, Jack, Marcus the Carcass, Nubiana, Nicholas Schmuck, Kostya Nesterovich, Frederick Brune, Techno Waffle, Nebular, I Loop, Emperor Kong 420, Robin, Mickenballs, Micah Marie, Stefan Van Zyl, Eddie, Kaimu, Mina, Ali Kasimoglu, Skylar Sauce, Nick Myers, Emp Ninjas, Chupaton, Diabetic Cat, Marvin Fang, Max, Sosa972, Afro Samurai, Cac per M, Daniel Bissett, and Lodestone. Have a great day, everyone.